The Great Pyramid of Egypt, a gigantic mountain of stone that has stood on the Giza plain throughout the whole written history of humankind, still on this day embodies the greatest architectural mystery ever witnessed by man. However, not so many are aware that the Great Pyramid is part of a wider architectural whole, which consists of 5 pyramids. 3 of them are in Giza and 2 in Dahshur, about 20 kilometers southeast of Giza. These 5 pyramids, which I call true pyramids, are fundamentally different from all the other Egyptian pyramids. But what is a true pyramid and what makes it so special? By a definition, a true pyramid is a pyramid that follows these 5 characteristics. 1. It is regarded by modern Egyptologists as a 4th dynasty pyramid from the so-called Old Kingdom. 2. It was designed and built by using royal cubits where 1 royal cubit equals 0.5236 meters. That is 52.36 centimeters. 3. It has a square base that is aligned very precisely with the 4 cardinal points of compass. 4. It was completed with smooth and polished outer casing, and it was built to last. Even though true pyramids were built almost 5,000 years ago and most of their outer casing was removed during the Middle Ages, the core structure still represents an almost flawless geometry. 5. Unlike all the other Egyptian pyramids, true pyramids do not resemble a royal tomb. No mummies, funerary scriptures, funerary art, or any grave goods have ever been found inside of it. The only language the true pyramids speak and that we can still interpret even after thousands of years is mathematics and geometry hidden in their structures and positioning. In this study, I named these 5 true pyramids from north to south with numbers from 1 to 5 so that the northernmost pyramid, the Great Pyramid of Giza, is the first true pyramid, and the southernmost pyramid, the Bent Pyramid of Dahshur, is the 5th true pyramid. English mathematician John Legend published several interesting studies on the geometry of true pyramids in late 1900s. One of his most significant studies dealt with the ground plan of Giza pyramid area. John Legend discovered that the dimensions of the ground plan followed very accurately square roots of 2, 3, and 5 in ancient Egyptian cubits. For example, the east-west length of the ground plan is equal to square root of 2 multiplied by 1000. And the north-south length of the ground plan is equal to square root of 3 multiplied by 1000. Thus, the cross-section of the ground plan is equal to square root of 5 multiplied by 1000. According to John Legend, it is very unlikely that these numbers would have been selected purely by chance. To find out whether this mathematical phenomenon found in Giza is purely coincidental, or whether it was something the architect was doing intentionally, we must make similar measurements in Dahshur. When measuring the area bound by the Dahshur pyramids, one can find it to fit perfectly inside a rectangle with the east-west width of 1,000 cubits, or 523.6 meters. Round figures indicate intentionality. But what about the north-south length then? At first, the measurement in cubits seems completely random, 4,270.6. But when the measurement is done in meters, the result produces a quite familiar value, square root of 5 multiplied by 1000. This is the same value we already found from the diagonal of the Giza ground plan in cubits. But this time the length is meaningful only in meters. At first, the presence of the modern meter in a nearly 5,000-year-old ground plan seems impossible. However, this is not the first time that researchers have come across the length of a meter when studying true pyramids. In early 1980s, German archaeologist Rainer Stadelmann found broken pieces of an old capstone of a pyramid from Dahshur, near the 4th true pyramid. In a book called Egypt, The World of the Pharaohs, there is a picture of the capstone. Notice the height and the width of the capstone, 100 centimeters and 157 centimeters. The height of this capstone is exactly 1 meter, the side length of its square base 1.57 meters or 3 cubits, and the perimeter exactly 6.28 meters or 12 cubits. Hence the value of 6.28 corresponds perfectly to 2 pi. This capstone represents also the ratio between a radius and a circumference of a circle. The only Old Kingdom pyramid whose dimensions correspond to this capstone is the Great Pyramid of Giza. Since this is the only capstone found from the era of the Old Kingdom, and since it perfectly represents the geometry of the Great Pyramid of Giza, one cannot help but think that it might in fact be the original capstone of the Great Pyramid. Because this capstone is built so that the height is exactly 1 unit, one can immediately see the beauty of its design, the value of pi and the value of golden ratio. It is quite a coincidence that the unit in this case happens to be a modern meter. Or is it? Let's have a closer look. The ratio between the height and the perimeter of the pyramid is the same as the ratio between the radius and the circumference of a circle. Hence, the dimensions of this pyramid are perfect representation of the geometry of a circle. The circle, on the other hand, was something that the Egyptians often divided into 12 parts. For example, the design of the dial plate of our modern clocks comes from the ancient Egypt because the Egyptians divided the daytime into 12 parts. Imagine ancient Egyptian architect who wanted to draw a circle with a circumference of exactly 12 cubits. To draw such a circle, the architect would have used a radius of exactly 1 meter. If he wanted to use this design for a pyramid capstone, he would have designed the capstone to be exactly 1 meter tall with a perimeter of 12 cubits. In other words, if the ancient Egyptian cubit was 52.36 centimeters long, as we know it was, and if the ancient Egyptians were inclined to divide a circle by 12, as we know they were, then it is inevitable that they must also have known the length of a measure that we nowadays call a meter. In fact, this is exactly what they did with the capstone found from Dahshur. So, let's get back to the ground plans. So far, we have measured the ground plans of 2 pyramid sites, Giza and Dahshur, and both measurements seem to indicate the possibility of an architectural plan behind placing true pyramids on the map. But to be sure, we must test this hypothesis yet one more ground plan, which includes all 5 true pyramids of Egypt. The width of this great ground plan is exactly 8,000 meters. This is a round number which fulfills our expectation for mathematical design. The north-south length of the ground plan is also a round number, exactly 40,000 cubits, but only when measured to the northeast corner of the 5th true pyramid. The diagonal of the great ground plan is exactly 22,360 meters, which is square root of 5 multiplied by 10,000 meters, but only when measured to the northwest corner of the 5th true pyramid. As you divide the length of the great ground plan by the width, you get the ratio of 2.618. This is equal to the golden ratio raised to the 2nd power. Now, this is a remarkably interesting ratio. We will come back to this ratio at the end of this presentation, so bear it in mind. But why the need for changing the corner of measurement of the 5th true pyramid between different measurements? Well, it would be mathematically impossible to embody 3 mathematical ratios so accurately if using only one corner. The result would be 1 exact measurement and 2 good estimates. But to achieve 3 perfectly accurate measurement results, 3 slightly different measurement points are needed. However, all this is just fine-tuning and happens within strictly restricted limits between the corners of the 5th true pyramid. Somehow, this fine-tuning makes the great ground plan even greater. It gives a whole new purpose to the 5th true pyramid, which now reveals itself to be a kind of precision instrument. The 5th true pyramid is literally the cornerstone of the entire great ground plan. When summarizing the results in one table, one can see a pattern emerging. Each side length in a ground plan can be best expressed as a square root. A total of 8 measurements are found following the given formula. 5 of them are designed primarily in cubits, and 3 of them in meters. The accuracy of the results is on average over 99.9%. You can check these values by yourself in Google Earth. From the video description you can find all the key coordinates. But let's go back to square roots for a moment. Besides the ground plans, the use of square roots can also be found in the geometry of the King's Chamber and the Great Pyramid. This picture shows all the dimensions of the King's Chamber in cubits. They are all integers, except for 3 dimensions. These 3 dimensions are best expressed by square roots. The design of the chamber embodies carefully considered mathematics and geometry. For example, all the dimensions of the King's Chamber can be very elegantly expressed with the help of 3, 4, 5 right triangles shadowed in this picture. The beauty of this triangle lies not only in the integers of 3, 4, and 5, but also in the fact that the radius of the circle drawn inside 3, 4, 5 triangle is exactly 1. A circle with a radius of 1 is called a unit circle. In the King's Chamber, the unit is 5 cubits. When expressed in meters, the value is 2.618. This is the same value we found from the ratio between the height and the width of the Great Ground Plan. When dividing all dimensions with this value, one can see the architect's design in the purest mathematical form. In addition to the golden ratio, the value of 2.618 can also be derived from a circle's geometry. The length is 5/12 of the unit circle's circumference. Both calculation methods give the same approximation. All in all, a square-base pyramid with a height of 1 meter and perimeter of 2 pi is a perfect communicator of not only the relationship between meter and cubit, but also the geometry of a circle and golden ratio. We all know the story of the Rosetta Stone, a large diorite stone found in 1799 that described the same text with 3 different languages, and which finally helped us to learn the long-forgotten hieroglyphic language of the ancient Egyptians. Now we have another stone, a capstone of a pyramid from a much older origin, that is also conveying a message through time. The message that the true pyramids convey over time cannot be explained by traditional means. However, it would be intellectually dishonest to claim that all of this could be the result of pure chance. Nevertheless, the main thing is that the curtain has now been removed and we finally can enjoy the creation of the master architect.